Chapter 701. Rank 3 Airsack Gu. 8 desolate beasts encircled closer to Feng Yuan and Fairy Yu. They are all real. Fairy Yu had extremely outstanding investigative methods to check the situation, but the result caused her pretty face to blanch further. Feng Yuan looked around him and saw. To the east was an ice-spiked divine ape, whose bulk was only somewhat inferior to Dang Hun Mountain. A tyrannical aura spread out from it, and as it moved, it left behind a pure white icy trail. The fur on its whole body were like ice cones, which brought a stifling pressure upon the two immortals. The sclera of its eyes were jade green, while its pupils had a frost blue luster. This represented the dense bloodline in this ice-spiked divine ape. If the eyeballs were completely frost blue in color, that would be the ancient desolate beast, Icefall divine ape, whose battle strength was comparable to a rank 7 Gu immortal. The west floated a phoenix feather lava crocodile. This crocodile was 2 to 3 times the size of ordinary crocodiles and could not compare to the enormously huge ice-spiked divine ape, yet its aura surged mightily. Its every breath brought a scalding hot heat wave. Its brownish-red scale armor was thick and robust, and its slender tail was over 6 meters long. It did not have any scales on its back, but instead had colorful phoenix feathers that resembled blazing lava. The north stood a proud golden sand-dark stallion. This horse was huge, its size reaching the chest of the ice-spiked divine ape. It had 6 legs that looked like they were cast from metal, its muscles were bulging, its posture was proud and aloof like a dragon, and its whole body shone with a golden luster. Only the 6 hooves were pitch black. The south side was entrenched by an azure dragon vine. This vine was not a wild beast, strictly speaking, but a plant. The vines had condensed into a dragon shape, and when its roots were pierced into the soil, its defensive and regenerative powers were extremely terrifying. Thus it specialized in battles of attrition. If it pulled out the roots, it could soar in the sky like an azure dragon. On the southeast side was a swamp crab. It was the king of swampy terrain. Its broad, mountain-like body could reach up to a quarter of Dang Hun Mountain's height when standing. Its eyes had degenerated till they were non-existent, and its shell was so thick that Feng Yuan felt a powerless sensation, like he was facing a tortoise shell. It had altogether 19 pairs of legs, and its front pair of pincers could easily crush boulders and cut dragons. Even Fang Yuan, with his immortal zombie body, did not dare to test the might of this pair of pincers. That a peach wolf was crouching down on the northeast. This wolf had the smallest size, the same as that of a newborn puppy. It looked extremely good-natured and cute with its round body, plump claws, pink tongue, and round dark eyes. Judging from appearance, it seemed to be harmless to both man and beast. However, Feng Yang's pupils shrunk, and if he had to choose a direction to break through, he would avoid this one outright. An iron-crowned eagle circled over the northwest side. This eagle gave off a valiant and imposing aura as it hovered in the air. Its eyes locked onto Feng Yuan and Fairy Yu. Its wings were broad and thick, and each of its feathers could be shot out like sharp arrows. Its claws were firm and savage, able to crush boulders and rip apart dragons and tigers. Finally, on the southwest side stood an earth chief desolate beast. It had a humanoid body with a snake tail, its face resembled a bat's, and its nose was pointed up. It had large ears and was black all over, with armor made of flesh covering it. Around its chest were 50 to 60 fleshy whips, each over 20 meters in length. There were suction organs on the surface of the fleshy whips. It would be hard to free oneself if someone was entangled by them. At the front of each fleshy whip was a chrysanthemum-like orifice which could shoot out a white milky fluid at the crucial moment. The fluid had very high corrosiveness and contained extremely large numbers of parasitic worms, which could drill into the pores of people and wreak havoc from inside the body. Fang Yuan had borrowed these 8 desolate beasts from Langya Land Spirit. More accurately, it should be said that Fang Yuan borrowed Langya Land Spirit's rank 7 beast enslavement Gu. This immortal Gu could subdue all kinds of wild beasts, including mutated beasts, myriad beast kings, beast emperors, even desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts. Desolate beasts had the power of a rank 6 Gu immortal and could be very difficult to deal with when the wild Gu residing on them were unknown. 8 desolate beasts encircled Feng Yuan and Fairy Yu. eyeing them with greed. The two sank into silence with no signs of a leisurely attitude like before that Feng Yuan turned his heavy gaze towards the peak of Dang Hun Mountain. Compared to the 8 desolate beasts, the true threat was still Fang Yuan and the other 3 immortals. Almost no desolate beasts could use killer moves, but Gu immortals had ample wisdom to use and research killer moves. Feng Yang's heart had sunk into rock bottom. He forcibly calmed down and shouted towards Fang Yuan. "Who are all of you?" Except Fang Yuan, the other 3 immortals were wearing masks. He Lulan wore a black bear mask, Fairy Lishan wore a bluebird mask, while Tai Bai Yunsheng wore a deer mask. The 3 were also shrouded in a layer of light that concealed their true appearance, hiding it from the investigative methods of Feng Yang and Fairy Songyu. Fang Yuan chuckled. "Before asking us of our identities, shouldn't you two introduce yourselves first?" Feng Yang and Fairy Songyu silently glanced at each other and saw the bitter look in each other's eyes. They had thought this trip would be simple, and at worst, they thought the other side would possess a Gu immortal's battle strength. However, they absolutely had not anticipated the enemy force would be this strong. Thus, they had been arrogant and directly requested Fang Yuan to surrender without giving self-introductions. "My name is Feng Yang, a rank 6 enslavement path Gu immortal of Immortal Crane sect. I am Tsangyu, a rank 6 water path Gu immortal of Immortal Crane sect." The two introduced themselves one after the other. Their attitude was no longer as overbearing as earlier. They were behaving very humbly at the moment a wise man submits to circumstances. Those who could become Gu immortals were outstanding people. At present, Fang Yuan had an imposing force. Feng Yang and Tsangyu decisively lowered their high heads that it might be easy to defeat Gu immortals, but killing them was difficult. Feng Yang could use expand space immortal Gu to tear a hole in Hu immortal blessed land space and escape. However, they did not know Fang Yuan's abilities. If Fang Yuan had an immortal Gu that could prevent their escape, the situation would become dangerous. So it is brother He and Fairy Songyu. Fang Yuan's tone was polite. "I am Fang Yuan, and I welcome you two as guests in my blessed land." These polite words felt grating when Feng Yang and Songyu heard them. It was full of sarcasm that Feng Yang could not help but feel stifled. What he had asked for was clearly these people's true identities, but Fang Yuan played dumb and gave an irrelevant answer by only replying with his name. Right now, who in Central Continent's 10 great sects would not know of his name? Fang Yuan intentionally avoided this topic, and Feng Yang, as the weaker side, did not dare to pursue it. "I wonder what both of you are here for?" Fang Yuan asked. Feng Yang was silent, but inwardly he was screaming insults. "What else could we come for? It is to take Hu immortal blessed land and capture Dang Hun Mountain." This brat, asking when he already knows. Fairy Songyu snorted. "Why is Sir speaking in such a weird and sarcastic tone? Sir's power surpassed everyone's imagination. When did such a force appear in Central Continent? Today was our loss. Sir's planning skills are indeed excellent and have fully controlled the situation. Now what should we do? If you want to battle, then let us begin. Why waste time chit-chatting? We will battle to the end if you wish to. In the worst case, our blood will splatter all over and we will perish here." Fang Yuan could not help but take another look at Fairy Songyu upon hearing these words. Shortly afterwards he smiled. "Fairy, you are quite brave. I am filled with admiration. I can roughly guess your intentions in coming here. It should be for Dang Hun Mountain's guts Gu, right?" "You are right," Feng Yang frankly admitted. Under the circumstances, he had no choice but to admit it. The scheme which he had painstakingly devised and prepared for over a year in order to capture Hu immortal blessed land had already completely failed. However, right at this time, he could not help but have some hope. If Fang Yuan wanted to battle, he should have started already. But he has been talking up to this point. It seems he is afraid of Immortal Crane sect. As long as I use this correctly, maybe we can escape without any accidents. Fang Yuan suddenly clapped and smiled. "You two came in at just the right time. I had already been thinking of selling Guts Gu. What do you think of this Gu?" A rank 3 Gu worm flew out of his hand. The Gu worm slowly flew under the gazes of 6 Gu immortals, 8 desolate beasts, as well as the blue charm lightning shadow, and landed in Feng Yang's hand. Feng Yang was uncertain and worried of Fang Yuan's scheme as he carefully accepted this mortal goo. This rank 3 goo worm resembled a ladybug. It was the size of a large bowl. Its head was extremely small while its stomach was so big that it occupied 99% of its body. Its stomach was round like a lamp bulb and was translucent. It did not have a carapace on its back and also did not have wings that in its translucent stomach. There was a goo. A goo within a goo? Fairy Song Yu softly mumbled. This rank 3 mortal goo was clearly a storage goo worm, particularly with the purpose of storing goo worms. These types of storage goo worms were extremely common. It included examples like earth treasury flower. However, the goo worm inside the belly made Feng Yang's gaze fix on it, as if it was glued. He then said with uncertain eyes, "This goo inside, could it be guts goo?" Fang Yuan gave a bright smile. "That is exactly right." "What?" Fairy Song Yu's beautiful eyes widened in astonishment. She might know very little about guts goo, but she knew guts goo could not be taken out of Dang Hun Mountain. If taken out, they would dissipate. It was because of this that Fang Yuan was not willing to trade guts goo before. Because if others wanted to use guts goo, they would have to personally come to Dang Hun Mountain. And letting so many outsiders enter who immortal blessed land would no doubt be a huge threat to Fang Yuan's life. This was the reason Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects wanted to seize Dang Hun Mountain. Guts goo could not be taken out of Dang Hun Mountain. Thus, taking control of Dang Hun Mountain meant being in control of guts goo. However, the fact right in front on them showed that guts goo could actually be stored and taken out of Dang Hun Mountain. Fairy Song Yu soon recognized how much significance this unremarkable ladybug-like goo worm carried. For a moment, her eyes were tightly affixed to it. This goo worm, what is its name? Feng Yang looked up at Fang Yuan and asked with a slightly trembling tone. Fang Yuan had in truth not thought of a name, and casually named it at this moment. Airsack goo. Feng Yang sank into silence. In an instant, he thought of many things. Immortal Crane sects higher-ups had also made these attempts. Back then, many goo immortals had participated, but it ended up in failure. Now, success was in Feng Yang's hand. Feng Yang's hands shivered slightly. If guts goo could be taken out of Dang Hun Mountain and exported to all places, treasure Yellow Heaven, Haishur Blessed Land, Central Continent, Southern Border, Northern Plains, how big of a profit would this be? Something that even our immortal Crane sect could not research was successfully accomplished by the force behind Fang Yuan. What are their origins? Maybe they had planned for a long time and thought of every means to capture immortal blessed land, in order to engage in the business of guts goo. Fang Yuan did not attack. Could it be that he wants to, with our immortal Crane sect? Feng Yang was still considering when Fang Yuan spoke. Since both guests are interested in my guts goo, what do you think of doing this transaction? Feng Yang's heart wavered. Chapter 702. Accident. Assault of a mysterious goo immortal. Fang Yuan's suggestion moved Feng Yang's heart. When Fang Yuan launched the ambush and encircled Feng Yang, he had thought that this operation was going to end in failure. In the best-case scenario, he would use expand space immortal goo and break out of the encirclement forcefully after sustaining huge injuries. Even if he consumed a lot of immortal essence during the process of escaping, he could not care about it. After all, comparing immortal essence and his life, the latter was much more important. After returning to Immortal Crane sect, Feng Yang's life would definitely go downhill. Immortal Crane sect placed such great expectations on him, and he had even prepared for over a year, but he ended up failing. His rival, Gu Immortal Lei Tan, would definitely seek him out to mock him personally when he hears the news. Second Supreme Elder would be utterly disappointed with him, and Feng Yang might not be able to lift his head for several years after that. This loss could be a lifelong blemish. Solely with just this failure, he would be mocked by countless people in the dark forever. If he could establish the deal with Fang Yuan for guts goo, to Feng Yang, that would be many times better than breaking through the encirclement. Feng Yang assessed in his heart. Immortal blessed land has 4 goo immortals and 8 desolate beasts, together with the territorial advantage. They are as secure as a fortress. Even though any of the 10 great ancient sects have the capability to take this on, that is only speaking of capability. They might not be able to gather so many goo immortals here. Even if they could send Gu immortals to attack Hu immortal blessed land, a battle between Gu immortals will expend a great amount of immortal essence and other resources. Even if they could get enough manpower and invest a lot into this battle, the other party also has Gu immortals and can easily destroy Dang Hun Mountain. By then, even if Hu immortal blessed land was obtained, it would all be for nothing. In the outside world, Great Heavenly Sword Sect had 3 Gu immortals and could attempt to leave one of the 10 great ancient sects, Immortal Crane Sect. This was because to deal with 3 Gu immortals, the resources and manpower needed were something Immortal Crane Sect needed to consider. If they failed, not only would they suffer a loss in their reputation, this huge loss might also cause unrest within the sect and trigger other problems that GU immortals were easy to defeat, but they were hard to kill. Why would anyone who could reach this stage not have any means or trump cards to escape? If they failed to kill him, they would utterly offend a Gu immortal. A Gu immortal that is holding grudges may cause trouble to mortals. With Immortal Crane Sect's huge size and wide range of assets, they would have to salvage the situation everywhere. Now that Fang Yuan has displayed such a force, Immortal Crane Sect alone could no longer attack forcefully, unless the other sects cooperated with them. But if they cooperated, there would be issues in many aspects regarding the allocation of benefits. If Feng Yang agrees to cooperate with Fang Yuan, they would establish trade for Guts Gu. This result was not an utter failure. That was because Immortal Crane Sect's main objective in taking down Hu immortal blessed land was for the Guts Gu, using the smallest price to obtain the biggest benefits. This was the issue that all of the supreme elders in Immortal Crane Sect were concerned about. Before this, Immortal Crane Sect had already requested for Fang Yuan to initiate the sales of Guts Gu. If we could establish a trade with the other party, I would not need to force my way out and risk injury. I can save a lot of immortal essence and have a proper justification when I return to the sect. Feng Yang considered this option. Fang Yuan observed his expression. Even though Feng Yang was a shrewd man and did not show emotions on his face, he was clearly moved due to how long he was considering this for. Thus, Fang Yuan continued, 100 of my Guts Gu will sell for 1 immortal essence stone in Treasure Yellow Heaven. I will sell 120 Guts Gu to Immortal Crane Sect for each immortal essence stone. However, in return, I want your Immortal Crane Sect to acknowledge my Hu immortal blessed land as your sect's subsidiary force. Furthermore, this subsidiary can detach from you at any time. As long as he had this identity, the other 9 great ancient sects would not be able to deal with Fang Yuan without involving Immortal Crane Sect. These were the rules of the righteous path. It was like making Immortal Crane Sect the big boss, while Hu immortal blessed land was the lackey. You would need to ask the boss before hitting his lackeys. Feng Yang smiled insincerely as he spoke. Fang Yuan, are you thinking of using my sect as your protection? With your force, you can definitely establish your own sect, right? Nobody can set up a sect on Tianti Mountain. I have no intention to leave this valuable spot. Fang Yuan laughed. Tianti Mountain had directly connected to Heavenly Court. Even Gu immortals did not dare to fight on this mountain. If Immortal Crane Sect did not declare Fang Yuan as a sect traitor and hold perfect reason to take him down, they would not dare to attack Hu immortal blessed land. Furthermore, Hu immortal blessed land becoming Immortal Crane Sect's subsidiary will also account for your sect's reputation, right? Fang Yuan continued that Feng Yang fell into silence again. A long while later, he sighed out. This matter is very important. I cannot be in charge of the decision. Allow me to return and report to the sect. Fang Yuan nodded. It would be best if brother he goes and explains it. But Fairy Tsang Yu would need to remain as a guest here for a while longer. Feng Yang and Tsang Yu made eye contact. Fairy Tsang Yu said, Lord Feng Yang, go ahead and return. I will wait here. I will return quickly. Feng Yang nodded solemnly at her, before looking deeply at Fang Yuan and his gang that he wanted to engrave these people into the depths of his heart. Land Spirit, open the door and let brother he out. Fang Yuan said with a concerned tone. Yes, master. Little Hu Immortal quickly replied. On Tianti Mountain, a brilliant white gold light formed in the light. A bright red door appeared. It was over 30 meters tall, and there was a rainbow-colored plaque. Pink clouds gathered as the aurora condensed into a flight of stairs of light. Feng Yang came out of the door. When he left, it was through the proper exit of the Blessed Land. This action quickly attracted the attention of the Gu immortals of the other 9 great sections. They started to converse. He's out. So fast. Don't tell me there was no resistance at all. When Feng Yuan entered, he used the expand space immortal Gu, but when he came out, it was through the main entrance. This is proof that he succeeded. Something's wrong. Look at his face. There is no joy of victory. He looks more calm and composed instead. Even though they were suspicious, none of them asked him directly. This was a hidden contest between the 10 great sects. A direct confrontation was damaging to their reputations. Feng Yuan could not care about their feelings. He only wanted to return to Fei Mountain. To report this matter, he flew quickly, traveling far from Tianti Mountain in a moment's time. Feng Yang's brows were locked. He was indignant and suspicious. Where did Fang Yuan's force come from? Other than Fang Yuan, the other 3 immortals all covered their faces with masks and used Gu worms to block investigative methods. They evidently do not want to expose their identities. Why is that? Don't tell me they are Gu immortals from the other 9 sects. They did not want our sect to obtain Danghun Mountain. Thus they secretly colluded with Fang Yuan beforehand. The moment he thought of this, Feng Yuan rejected this possibility. Paper could not cover up a fire. Secrets were temporary and would be outed. The 9 great sects would not do such a thing. It was against the demeanor of one of the great sections. Then, are they Gu immortals gathered from Central Continent's smaller sects? Feng Yuan thought. Central Continent had countless sects. Other than the 10 great ancient sects, there were large-sized sects, middle-sized sects, small-sized sects, and many sections. There were untold numbers of sects. Within them, there naturally were some Gu immortals. If it had been them, then these Gu immortal would all have foundations in Central Continent. To prevent their home sect from being suppressed or troubled by the ancient sects, they would not want to reveal their identities. That made sense. That's right. Fang Yuan has the fixed immortal travel immortal Gu. These people might not be Central Continent Gu immortals. They might be from other regions. The stronger the Gu immortal, the harder it is to get past the regional walls. Every once in a while, they have to let out their aperture in the region that they became an immortal to recollect and gather heaven and earth chi to stabilize the Blessed Land. But with fixed immortal travel, the other party can settle these problems easily. Feng Yang's thoughts moved swiftly. He quickly guessed Fang Yuan and the other Gu immortals' identities. But he had too little evidence. He could not confirm it. All in all, Gu immortal blessed land is very mysterious and dangerous. Before we find out their secrets, we cannot strike easily. This time, I suffered a huge loss. The root of the problem was that the enemy was in the dark while I was out in the open. We suffered from a lack of intel. Feng Yuan concluded his experience from this incident, but he suddenly stopped in the air. Who is this? You dare to ambush me here? Feng Yuan quickly became alert, shouting, You are very vigilant. A voice came from somewhere. It was high and low-pitched at times, with a hoarse male voice that turned into a crisp female voice. Someone had evidently modified their voice with Gu worms. 2 figures appeared, one in front and one behind. They blocked Feng Yang's paths. What changed next was the sky. The bright, shiny and clear sky with no clouds turned dark and eerie. Fog became thick as vengeful souls flew all over the place. This was a battlefield killer move. This was a battlefield environment created to amplify the effects of certain Gu worms. This was not something ordinary Gu immortals could have. I am Immortal Crane Sex, Feng Yuan. Both of you are concealing your appearances and acting so secretive. What is your intention? Feng Yuan shouted. The 2 Gu immortals before him were masked in a layer of dark light. Their appearances could not be seen. So what if you are from Immortal Crane Sect? The mysterious Gu immortal in front of him laughed coldly. The Gu immortal behind him said directly, We will kill you regardless. Just as they said that, the Gu immortal struck. 5 fingers spread open and thousands of gray-white threads appeared from the palm. The threads got close to Feng Yuan as his heart jumped. This was obviously a mortal killer move designed to trap people. Once he was entangled by these threads, it would be difficult to escape. Feng Yuan quickly summoned the crane group. Within his immortal aperture, there were large numbers of flying cranes. He brought them with him everywhere, and he never lacked any troops. The crane groups were huge in numbers. There were iron beak flying cranes, fire pellet cranes, tailwind cranes, cloud mist cranes, stellar light cranes, and illusion lightning cranes all mixed together in perfect harmony, forming a tight formation. A desolate beast 9 palace crane flew out, crying out and causing the surrounding fog to disperse. Feng Yuan stepped onto the 9 palace crane's back. His hair was fluttering as his gaze was like lightning. The anger within him had awakened. Do you really think I am an easy target? Today, you will taste the fury of the winged crane flying immortal. As the threads flew to him, the iron beak flying crane group flew out and blocked them with their bodies. The other mysterious goo immortal puffed up his cheeks and blew out huge flames. These flames were pale green, and in this battlefield, their power was amplified, causing many cranes to fall from the sky after getting burnt. Feng Yuan was not to be outdone. He activated his enslavement path killer move. Immediately, a group of illusion lightning cranes flew out, shooting lightning bolts that gathered and formed into a pillar, piercing the battlefield. Another group of fire pellet cranes flew out, their bodies covered in flames, burning their enemies. 2 groups of flying cranes charged towards the 2 mysterious goo immortals like a pair of giant fists. Boom, boom, boom. With an intense explosion, the 2 sides engaged in intense battle. Chapter 703, Plot Within Plot, a fatal killer move. On the battlefield, the intense battle continued. A large group of iron beak flying cranes, each with bodies black as steel. They had increased defense and did not fear death. They charged towards the 2 mysterious goo immortals fiercely. One of the 2 mysterious goo immortals opened their mouth, as a loud sound came out of it, echoing everywhere. This was a sound path killer move. The iron beak flying crane group's formation went into chaos under the effect of the sound. Their tight formation became loose, and there were many weaknesses exposed. Go! The other mysterious goo immortal saw a chance and grabbed the other person's limb. The 2 of them turning into 2 lumps of gray-white flames, piercing the iron beak flying crane's formation and moving towards Feng Yuan. Against an enslavement path goo immortal, one should not fight intensely with their beast group. Taking down the enslavement goo immortal was the proper battle tactic. Feng Yuan saw that the enemy was approaching. Not only was he not anxious, he showed a cold smile. You fell into my trap. He took out a 5-hole jade flute goo, placing it near his mouth, and started playing the flute. He looked like a green-clothed young man, but he was actually the lord of myriads of beasts. His sleeves fluttered in the air despite having no wind. His eyes burst out with a lively brilliance. Enslavement path killer move. 8-sided ambush. Tens of thousands of flying cranes moved with his music. Groups of invisible cranes that had hidden their figures exposed themselves, encircling the 2 mysterious goo immortals tightly. Feng Yuan purposely left behind an empty space in the formation around himself. That was a trap to lead his enemies right into it. Now that the other party had fallen for it, he did not let them off. As his flute continued to play, 3 5-string zither goo flew out of his body. Amidst the music of the flute, the zither played a crisp tune, turning into another enslavement path killer move. Formation like water. Innumerable flying cranes flew outward, while countless flying cranes flew towards the center. The entire battlefield was like a perfect harmony of churning gears. The scale was massive but orderly. The flying cranes moved fluidly. Their formation was changing like the flow of water. The 2 mysterious goo immortals were within this formation. They saw the array of flying cranes changing their formation smoothly. They felt like beans in a stone grinder, about to be turned into pulp. Feng Yuan continued to blow the flute, safely at the center of the beast group, standing on the back of the desolate crane. He watched the crane group engage with the 2 mysterious experts. He thought in his heart, ever since we started fighting, these 2 have used countless killer moves, ranging from sound path, space path, fire path, wind path, light path, dark path, rule path, and more. They were doing this on purpose. They did not want to use their real abilities and expose their identities. When goo masters become immortals, according to the foundation of their bodies, as well as the goo worm used to create their immortal aperture, they would be classified into goo immortals of their respective paths. There were fire path goo immortals, wind path goo immortals, wisdom path goo immortals, and many others, forming the immortal bodies of the respective paths. The immortal body is obtained when a Gu Masters ascends. Their body will be modified by the 3 Qi, removing all impurities and elevating the essence of their life itself. That a wind path immortal body will have the Tao marks and comprehension of wind. Thus, when they use wind path Gu worms, the effect would be greater. A fire path immortal body would be cleansed by the great Tao in relation to fire. It would be closely connected to fire path, and would cause fire path killer moves to be much more powerful than normal. For example, Fang Yuan. Although he was an immortal zombie, he was still a strength path Gu immortal. His body was the strength path immortal body. Thus, when he used Gu worms and killer moves of other paths, the effects were only ordinary. The 2 mysterious Gu immortals trying to kill Feng Yang did not use their real fighting methods. Therefore, they were suppressed by him despite outnumbering him 2-1. Are you two still trying to conceal your identities? If you do not use your true abilities, you might die here. Feng Yang snickered continuously. His voice filled the battlefield. The 2 mysterious Gu immortals were breathing roughly. The attack of the crane groups were unceasing and furious like a tide. The 2 of them were tired from dealing with them. Like what Feng Yang said, if the 2 did not start using their real methods, they would truly get killed soon. The 2 made eye contact as they nodded, making up their minds. One of them sighed, as expected of a reputed righteous sect. The might of the winged crane flying immortal, I have truly seen it today. The other said, however, even if we do not use our real capabilities, we can still kill you. Feng Yang, take a look around you. Oh. Feng Yang's gaze quickly swept the surroundings. Originally, it was a foggy scene. The battlefield was full of crying and anguished screams, but now there was a change. Within the lumps of thick fog, dark blue soul beasts were formed. In just a few breaths of time, the number of soul beasts increased greatly. They were equally numbered with Feng Yang's crane group. Is this Soul Taker battlefield? Feng Yang's heart jumped. He said it subconsciously. Winged crane flying immortal, you are very knowledgeable. The mysterious Gu immortals laughed, their voices changing constantly, sounding like male or female at times. Feng Yang's expression turned grim. This Soul Taker battlefield killer move had a vile reputation. It was very hard to deal with. Living beings who died in this battlefield would have their souls taken and transformed into soul beasts, under the control of the killer move's user. Most importantly, this battlefield killer move's origin was huge. It was created by one of the 10 venerables in history when he was young, spectral soul demon venerable, who had the most murderous nature. Who were these 2 mysterious Gu immortals? They actually had a battlefield killer move, Soul Taker, that was long lost in history. Once the soul beasts appeared, they started fighting with the crane groups. The battle situation changed as Feng Yang quickly manipulated the crane groups, changing formations to defend against the soul beasts. The 2 mysterious Gu immortals felt less pressure now, and were able to rush out of the crane group's encirclement. The size of the soul beasts was the same as the crane group, but they could not defeat the cranes. Often, 10 soul beasts were sacrificed to kill 1 crane. But Feng Yang became increasingly alert in his heart. After the soul beasts were shredded into fragments, these fragments could form into new soul beasts in this Soul Taker battlefield. Meanwhile, when a flying crane dies, its soul would be taken by the battlefield, forming a soul beast, becoming part of the enemy's troops. No matter how high Feng Yang's cultivation was, he could not battle with 0 casualties. Once he suffered losses, over a long period, the soul beasts would have the upper hand. As this dragged on, Feng Yang's advantage would dwindle. The crane groups would slowly be taken down by the soul beasts. Feng Yang, just so you know, we expressed weakness earlier on purpose, to delay for time. Now that the Soul Taker battlefield has grown to a sizable amount, your enslavement path advantage is gone. Winged crane flying immortal, today, you will perish here. The 2 mysterious Gu immortal worked together. Wind path killer move, tornado dragon whip. With a wind whip that was hundreds of meters long, one of the Gu immortals swung, killing countless flying cranes. Poison path killer move, killer bee stab. Thousands of needles rained down like a torrential storm. The poison on them were very potent. Any flying crane that was hit directly died on the spot, their flesh disintegrating. The 2 mysterious Gu immortals had finally showed their true abilities. One was a wind path Gu immortal, while the other was a poison path goo immortal. Large numbers of cranes were exterminated. Their souls were extracted by the battlefield, forming new batches of soul beasts. Oh no, the enemy came prepared. They planned for this long ago. I cannot stay here. Feng Yuan saw this and wanted to retreat. Only a fool would want to stay in the Soul Taker battlefield and fight it out with the enemy. This Soul Taker battlefield is filled with fog. It is easy to lose one's direction. It is hard to escape from. But right now, I have Expand Space Immortal Goo with me. It should not be hard to escape from here. Feng Yuan thought about this and used his divine sense to communicate with a will in his immortal aperture. This will was in the form of a burly man. When Feng Yuan left Fei Mountain earlier, it had entered his immortal aperture and had been observing the outside situation using his goo worms. All of Feng Yuan's experience this time, since he left Fei Mountain, in Hu immortal blessed land, when he was encircled by Fang Yuan and the others, and after he left Hu immortal blessed land, and was trapped in the Soul Taker battlefield, attacked by two mysterious goo immortals. The will saw it all clearly that Feng Yuan requested. Lord Tiger Demon, please use your immortal killer move once again to break out of the battlefield and escape this place. This will belong to Immortal Crane Sect's third Supreme Elder. Lord Tiger Demon's anger will be sat in the air, opening his eyes emotionlessly. You need to know that every time I use force intrusion, my main body will need to expend 2 red date immortal essence beads. Feng Yuan quickly said, Junior, understand, I will make the appropriate compensation when we return. Tiger Demon's anger will nodded, not speaking any further. He grabbed with his hand, tossing 2 red date immortal essence to the Expand Space immortal goo. At the same time, many mortal goo rose up as well. After a while of preparing, Feng Yuan opened his palm, taking out Expand Space immortal goo from his immortal aperture. The immortal goo was covered in a yellow light. Feng Yuan patted it lightly. The yellow light left his hands, breaking apart the Soul Taker battlefield and creating a hold. Feng Yuan was overjoyed. He put back Expand Space. Immortal goo and the 9 palace crane below his feet cried out, flapping its wings and bringing him out of Soul Taker battlefield. Outside the battlefield, it was clear skies with no clouds. Oh no. He actually had Expand Space immortal goo. He's escaping. Feng Yuan, don't run if you have the guts. Let us battle for 300 rounds. The shouts of the 2 goo immortals behind him had a tone of anxiety and panicked. Feng Yuan laughed heartily. His heart was filled with pride. Even Soul Taker battlefield cannot contain me. No matter who you are, ambushing and attempting to kill me, I will remember this. Don't think I will not find out just because you hid your identity, you used your own killer moves. When I return to the sect, I will investigate. I will definitely find out who you really are. Oh no. Suddenly, Feng Yuan sensed something amiss. His expression changed. He had always been a vigilant person and had great self-control. How could his emotions become so overjoyed the moment he left the Soul Taker battlefield? Like he had just won a battle. This time, he failed to take back Hu immortal blessed land. He had let down Lord Tiger Demon's nurturing and expectations. He should feel downcast instead. Oh no. An intense warning of danger rose in his heart. Feng Yuan turned around, only to see a goo immortal as tiny as a little boy, his body covered in a dark light. He was holding a dagger-shaped goo worm. He was right behind Feng Yuan. Less than a foot away, a third goo immortal. There was a third goo immortal in ambush. This was their true killer move, a plot within a plot. While Feng Yuan's mind relaxed the moment he left the Soul Taker battlefield, the fatal strike was launched at him. Feng Yuan was furious and shocked. His eyes were blood red, and he was extremely angry. He did not retreat. Instead, he had the urge to fight to the death with the enemy. Quickly dodge. The enemy is an emotion path goo immortal. They can interfere with your judgment by influencing your emotions. Within his immortal aperture, Tiger Demon's anger was shouting. It is too late. The third goo immortal raised their dagger, stabbing at Feng Yuan. The dagger-shaped goo worm burst out with an intense immortal goo aura. Feng Yuan was horror-stricken and full of grievances. The enemy had an attack-type immortal goo. He only had an Expand Space immortal goo. It could not help him. The defensive mortal killer moves he had could not block this attack-type immortal goo. Chapter 704, Little 9. The dagger-shaped immortal goo was about to pierce into him. Feng Yuan felt anger, fear, bewilderment, unresignedness, all kinds of feelings seethed in him like lava, greatly influencing his actions. Am I going to die here today? Feng Yuan involuntarily had this thought. However, right at this dangerous moment, the desolate beast 9 palace crane under his feet suddenly let out a clear cry before fiercely turning its body around. Feng Yang's body was thrown down while the 9 palace crane blocked the ambushing goo immortal. Plop. A soft sound echoed. The dagger-shaped immortal goo ruthlessly pierced into the 9 palace crane's chest. The third goo immortal showed a shocked expression. He had thought disturbing Feng Yuan could influence the 9 palace crane. After all, Feng Yuan was an enslavement path goo immortal and the 9 palace crane had been enslaved by him. If he was influenced, the 9 palace crane should also be nothing to worry about. He activated several emotion path killer moves to heavily disturb Feng Yuan, but he had never expected that at the last juncture. This 9 palace crane would actually move to protect its master, Little 9. Feng Yuan saw the 9 palace crane taking the fatal strike. Tears immediately streamed down his eyes as he gave a pained roar. He had raised this 9 palace crane with great care and had never used any enslavement methods on it. Back when he was young, he had been brutally chased when out on a mission. His life was hanging in the balance when he accidentally bumped into the similarly heavily injured 9 palace crane. After this coincidental and accidental meeting, he and the 9 palace crane helped each other to escape the plight. The 9 palace crane was on the verge of death. Feng Yuan brought it back to the sect and used all of his wealth, barely managing to stabilize its life. In the dozens of years afterwards, Feng Yuan braved many dangers to earn money to treat the 9 palace crane little by little, slowly pulling it out from the brink of death. A profound sentiment more intimate than brothers was established like this between a man and a crane. Later an accident occurred. The rank 5 goo master Feng Yuan had failed his mission and was in a heavily injured state. The resources on him could only save one person. If he treated the 9 palace crane, he would die, but if he saved himself, the 9 palace crane would not be able to maintain its lingering vitality. At the juncture of this choice, Feng Yuan thought for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, he decided to sacrifice himself to save the 9 palace crane. This action caused Third Supreme Elder, Lord Tiger Demon, to be moved, and with his help, both Feng Yuan and the 9 palace crane were saved. Feng Yuan lived up to his expectations. And after becoming a goo immortal, he joined Lord Tiger Demon's faction. The 9 palace crane let out a mournful cry. Its enormous and slender body was covered with a layer of gray light. In this gray light, its body was rapidly shrinking and becoming younger. From a mature age, it continuously turned to its youth, then to its infancy. This was the power of the immortal goo. The dagger-shaped immortal goo was actually a time path immortal goo that could reverse the target's body to a younger state. Retreat. Don't let down your friend's kind intention. In his immortal aperture, Tiger Demon's anger will heaved a long sigh. Little 9. Feng Yuan shouted furiously and went back regardless of the advice of Tiger Demon's anger will. The hems of his gown fluttered and moved, turning into a crane feather cloak. A blood-red glint blossomed in his eyes, and his slender green brows moved nimbly like a snake or dragon. The mysterious goo immortal showed a surprised expression. He had not thought Feng Yuan, who could have clearly escaped in the moment just before, would actually return with killing intent. Feng Yuan was an enslavement path goo immortal. Feng Yuan pushed forward his palms from which jade-green lightning rays surged out. The mysterious goo immortal snorted. He raised the dagger and confronted it head-on, simultaneously activating emotion path killer moves to influence Feng Yuan's emotions. However, Feng Yuan's heart was filled completely with anger and was unexpectedly not influenced. Bam! A loud explosion erupted and the mysterious goo immortal was thrown back. Feng Yuan's body trembled intensely and blood spurted out of his mouth, but he forcibly pulled himself together and pulled the infant 9 palace crane into his hands. Little 9. Feng Yuan held the 9 palace crane in his embrace and turned around, escaping immediately with no intent to stay. The 9 palace crane had already become the size of a white goose and was softly twittering as Feng Yuan held it in his embrace. The emotion path goo immortal had been sent some distance away. That gap was enough for him to be unable to chase Feng Yuan in this moment. The other 2 mysterious goo immortals hurried over after canceling the Soul Taker battlefield. Sigh. He escaped in the end. The wind path goo immortal heaved a long sigh in pity. This guy is clearly an enslavement path Gu immortal, but he is actually not weak in close combat. That green lightning killer move isn't what it appears to be. It makes me think of the emotion path Gu immortal said. If not for lacking time to gather more people, would we be afraid of not being able to put him down? How about we chase? Maybe we can. The poison path Gu immortal was not resigned. He has expand space immortal Gu. Soul Taker battlefield cannot trap him. Let's leave quickly. It is not convenient to stay here. The wind path Gu immortal was calm, right? This ambush was nothing more than a hastily considered course of action. We absolutely cannot lose sight of the main goal for small gains and risk exposing our identities, which would affect Master's grand plan. We will retreat. The emotion path Gu immortal ceased his absent-mindedness and said softly. His position seemed to be higher than the other two Gu immortals, and his words had a tone of decisiveness. I shall take my leave. The wind path Gu immortal rapidly flew in the air and soon was no more than a small black dot in the horizon. The poison path Gu immortal dropped into the ground and escaped. The emotion path Gu immortal paused for a while until the other two had completely left. His body then disappeared in the air as if he had never been there. Feng Yuan flew at top speed to Fei Mountain, and without stopping, he directly entered Fuhu Blessed Land. Lord Tiger Demon was standing beside an enormous stone pit. Looking at the tens of thousands of rockmen working inside the pit, Junior was incompetent and let down. Lord's expectations. Feng Yuan bowed in greeting to Lord Tiger Demon, his body filled with injuries and his expression one of shame. You got injured? First go take a rest and heal yourself. Lord Tiger Demon did not ask anything to Feng Yuan and only waved his hand. That anger will in Feng Yuan's immortal aperture flew out and entered his mind. In just an instant, he understood all the things Feng Yuan had experienced in this trip. His gaze flickered. Shortly afterwards, he activated Anger Will Gu to produce Anger Will. The Anger Will flew through the sky, out of Fuhu Blessed Land and towards the peak of Fei Mountain. When it reached the conference hall at the mountain peak, 3 wills that were left here came after sensing it. These 3 wills were respectively from First Supreme Elder, Second Supreme Elder, and the Third Supreme Elder, Lord Tiger Demon. They were in charge of monitoring the sect and also handling some small matters. The major matters were also arranged, and at every set period of time, they would gather a group of Gu immortals to hold a joint discussion on them. Tiger Demon's Anger Will landed in the hall and fused with its previous will, then narrated the events that occurred to Feng Yuan. The First and Second Supreme Elders' wills sank into silence when they heard the narration. They started to rapidly think, which caused their bodies to shrink at a visible speed. When they had shrunken to almost half the previous size, Second Supreme Elders will said, "Let's allow Lord Tiger Demon to have the final decision on the matters of Hu Immortal Blessed Land." First Supreme Elders will spoke. Feng Yuan was ambushed and almost killed. This is much more serious than Hu Immortal Blessed Land. Where was he ambushed? A Gu worm flew out from the hall and turned into a map made of light and shadow. Here. Lord Tiger Demon's Anger Will pointed at the location. First Supreme Elders will nodded and spoke heavily. This location is a very good place to lay an ambush. There is no force situated both in front and behind, and this makes it a very good place of concealment. It seems the ambushes are very familiar with Central Continent's terrain. Investigate. When has there been anyone that had the guts to try to kill our 10 great ancient sects Gu immortals? Second Supreme Elders will shouted in rage. My concern is this. Elders, where do you think these Gu immortals came from? Lord Tiger Demon's Anger Will asked. First Supreme Elders and Second Supreme Elders' wills glanced at each other, both revealing heavy expressions. Third Elder is worried these Gu immortals are Central Continent Gu immortals. First Supreme Elder said quietly. Tiger Demon's Anger Will spoke frankly with confidence. Right. How long have our 10 great ancient sects been in control of Central Continent? The situation has been getting increasingly harder over these recent years. Why is that? Our Central Continent is different from the other 4 regions. Led by primordial origin Immortal Venerable, Central Continent had already been reformed during the remote antiquity era, establishing the sect system. During the remote antiquity era, sects had been rare. In olden antiquity era, clan forces surpassed sect forces. In medieval antiquity era, sects and clans clashed against each other and advanced at an equal pace. In late antiquity era, clans weakened while sects flourished. And now, sects stand in great numbers in Central Continent while there are almost no clans. The clan system only selects the clan's children as Gu masters. The sect system, however, allows ordinary mortals to step on the path of Gu cultivation. Our central continent's history is filled with the conflicts between the two great systems. After going through over 3 million years of struggles, evolution, and accumulation, the sect system has prevailed. The number of central continent Gu immortals far surpass the other 4 regions, and they continue to increase. And soon will leave the control of our 10 great sections. How many Gu immortals can our 10 great sects recruit? The number of other Gu immortals in central continent are several times our own. As these Gu immortals of other sects, demonic path Gu immortals and lone cultivator Gu immortals continue to cultivate, they would require more cultivation resources. Conflicts are unavoidable because our 10 great sects control 80% of cultivation resources in central continent. Have there not been cases like Great Heavenly Sword sect before? It is just that they were secretly suppressed by our 10 great ancient sections. But in these recent years, new sects are still emerging unendingly. New innovations and new schools of thought are common occurrences. Uncommon geniuses and monstrous talents are constantly sprouting among the mortals, while there are limited spots in our 10 great ancient sections. Despite recruiting exceptional talents every year, Central Continent is truly too big. Lord Tiger Demon's anger will sighed as he said this. The 2 supreme elders were silent all along. The 10 great ancient sects held control of 80% of Central Continent's resources, but after the resources were split amongst everyone, how much would be left behind for individual Gu immortals? As a Gu immortal's cultivation got higher, their blessed land would require more resources to manage. In particular, the heavenly tribulations and earthly calamities would also continue to become stronger, and after every tribulation, the losses would be very severe. And the price to repair it would continue to become higher. It was impossible for the 10 great ancient sects Gu immortals to share their resources to others. In the past, although there were many sects outside of the 10 great sects, there were not many Gu immortals. Immortal and mortal were different concepts. There was a wide gap in the strength between mortals and immortals, thus mortals could be suppressed. But at present, the Gu immortals outside of the 10 great sects were increasing constantly in numbers. Although these Gu immortals usually had inferior battle strength, their vast numbers were enough to bring about an impact to the 10 great ancient sections. Great Heavenly Sword sect was a good example. This large-sized sect had 2 Gu immortals originally and was a vassal of Immortal Crane sect. Now that they had a 3rd Gu immortal, they immediately planned to leave Immortal Crane sect and be independent. Chapter 705, Immortal Slaughtering Plan. Fang Yuan distributes benefits. Lord Tiger Demon's anger will continue. These years, our 10 great ancient sects have been in difficult circumstances. We could be said to be treading on thin ice. It is as if we are blocking the top of a volcano. The magma underneath will eventually burst out one day, causing a major impact to our 10 great sects. Third Supreme Elder is talking about the general situation in Central Continent right now. But this is the situation of the whole region. How can we change it? Second Supreme Elders will side. Lord Tiger Demons will continued. Great Heavenly Sword sect's example is in front of us. The Gu immortals, in who immortal blessed land, could be from other regions, but they are most likely to be an alliance of lone cultivators in our region. The ones who ambushed Feng Yuan today might also be Gu immortals of our own region's forces. But if that is the case, it would be terrifying. Second Supreme Elder nodded. It is indeed like that. The force that attacked Feng Yuan obviously does not want who immortal blessed land to continue being in the hands of Fang Yuan. If Feng Yuan dies, Immortal Crane sect will have to attack who immortal blessed land forcefully to defend our reputation. Even though it is obvious that they are framed, Immortal Crane sect has no choice but to go along with it. The 10 great ancient sects' pride and reputation that have been defended for innumerable years cannot be tarnished. If they could not take revenge for the death of their own Gu immortals, then their reputation would be ruined, the hearts of the people would waver, and everyone would be emboldened to offend Immortal Crane sect. If Immortal Crane sect is under such problems, they would not be able to manage their resources and land within Central Continent. By then, Immortal Crane sect would be worn out physically and mentally. Their exhaustion would attract even more greedy jackals and wolves. This would be a vicious cycle. Once they fall into it, it would be hard to recover. Immortal Crane sect's top 3 Supreme Elders were all experienced people. They were old monsters with bountiful life experience. They had considered this terrifying future prospect already. Not just them. Among the other 9 great ancient sects of Central Continent, there were sure to be people who understood this. Right now, Central Continent was becoming saturated with experts, but there were limited resources. It was like a powder keg that was expanding endlessly. The 10 great ancient sects were sitting on top of the keg. If they were careless and ignited it, they might be blown to pieces. Tiger Demon, you used this topic today to start a long discussion. I'm sure you have some insights to share with us. Why not just tell us straight away? First Supreme Elder said. Tiger Demon's anger will laugh, saying startling things. My current idea is to agree with Fang Yuan's conditions and acknowledge that Hu Immortal Blessed Land is a subsidiary of our sect. At the same time, we will find out the true identities of the culprits who attacked He Feng Yang. Once we know which lone cultivators are ganging up, we will collaborate with the other 9 sects and engage in a wide-scale immortal slaughtering plan. Immortal slaughtering. Second Supreme Elder heard this, and excitement shined in his eyes. First Supreme Elders will shut his eyes, he slowly said. Tiger Demon, I will not hide it from you. This suggestion of yours had been brought up by Combat Immortal Sects Gu Immortal Sure Lay many years ago. He had even sent a proposal to Heavenly Court, requesting for Heavenly Court to come out and organize the 10 great ancient sects in order to execute this plan. Oh, that Immortal Monkey King? Even though our 10 great ancient sects have had changes throughout history, the root of all these changes were righteous reasons, like the interchanging of main and side branches. These all have much to do with Heavenly Court. If the 10 ancient sects engage in a slaughter of immortals, it would have huge implications and involve innumerable benefits. Only Heavenly Court can step in to convince and assemble everyone, leading us towards victory. Tiger Demon's anger will agreed, but Heavenly Court rejected this proposal. They even warned us 10 great ancient sects not to specially target the respective smaller sects and lone cultivator Gu immortals. We are not to consciously massacre them. Violators would be heavily punished. First Supreme Elders will said. What? Tiger Demon's anger will shouted in shock. This matter, how did I not know about it? Second Supreme Elder muttered to himself. First Supreme Elder sighed loudly, looking at the sky. The will of Heavenly Court is Heaven's will. Heaven's will cannot be defied. Heaven's will cannot be anticipated. He Feng Yang returned to Hu Immortal Blessed Land once again. Fairy Yu and Fang Yuan were walking on Danghun Mountain, observing the growth of the Guts Gu. Tai Bai Yunsheng looked from afar, staring at Fairy Yu. Meanwhile, that blue charm lightning shadow was encircled by the 8 desolate beasts. Once in a while, a different desolate beast would go up and fight it. They were taking turns to wear it down. Brother, he was a bit slow. Fang Yuan saw He Feng Yang and smiled while saying plainly, He Feng Yang and Fairy Yu first looked at each other. Seeing her nod and hint that she was unharmed, he turned to Fang Yuan. My sect has already agreed to acknowledge your side as our sect's subsidiary. The relationship would have no time limit, and you can leave at any time. At the same time, we will engage in the trading of Guts Gu. The price will be 1 Immortal Essence Stone for 120 Guts Gu. This is the rank 6 Immortal Gu Promise. Immortal Gu Promise was an information path Gu worm. Its use was similar to Mountain Pledge Gu and Sea Oath Gu. Immediately, He Feng Yang activated the Immortal Gu to make a promise. When it was Fang Yuan's turn, he received the Immortal Gu and checked that there were no issues. He consumed his green grape Immortal Essence and made a promise as well. Their promises created material forms that resembled lumps of gold. The two sides exchanged with each other to keep a copy each. Fairy Yu finally breathed out a sigh of relief. Now that the transaction had been established, she was finally safe. Fang Yuan breathed out in relief too. The situation that he had been trying to resolve had finally reached this stage. Fighting to the death with Immortal Crane Sect was definitely impossible. Immortal Crane Sect was a huge organization. If he angered them, Hu Immortal Blessed Land would certainly be lost. With Fang Yuan's finances, he could not sustain a huge battle against Gu Immortal level opponents. But He Feng Yang's words quickly earned his attention. On the way back, I was ambushed by 3 Gu Immortals, and my life was almost lost. The other party evidently wants to frame you. Our sect is investigating it now. I wonder if your force had offended anyone. What? In Central Continent, there were actually Gu Immortals who dared to kill a Gu Immortal from the 10 great sects. Fang Yuan did not conceal his shock. He remembered clearly that such situations would only happen a while after the 5 regions' chaotic war started. By then, the 5 regions would be in chaos. Mortals would face difficulties living and battles would be unceasing. Even the authority of heavenly court was useless. The 10 great sects Gu immortals all faced assassinations. There were those who were taking revenge from the other 4 regions, but also Central Continent's own lone cultivator Gu. Immortals who were trying to fish for benefits. As the situation became more and more chaotic, Fang Yuan could even bring a band of demonic path Gu immortals to attack Hu immortal blessed land on Tianti Mountain, killing Feng Jin Huang eventually. Unknowingly, Fang Yuan thought about the mysterious force that plotted against him secretly in Treasure Yellow Heaven over a year ago. But he did not even know what this force was called. Even if he knew, he would not expose such information to Feng Yang. Thus, he shook his head. I have been in Hu immortal blessed land for this period of time. How could I offend other forces? I have no intentions to offend brother he. But thinking about it, Immortal Crane sect probably attracts more enemies than me. Was it a force trying to plot against your sect, but wanting to use me as a diversion instead? Feng Yang did not get the information he wanted. He was a little disappointed, but he could not force Fang Yuan. Immortal Crane sect had their own worries. Even though Fang Yuan was only an immortal zombie, the force behind him allowed the 2 sides to speak on equal terms. Feng Yang and Fairy Song Yu did not stay any longer. Fang Yuan opened Hu immortal blessed land's door and sent them out. Fang Yuan stood at the door, saying goodbye to them. The other 9 sects who saw this immediately realized that something had occurred in Hu immortal blessed land. What is going on? Why is there an immortal zombie? Feng Yang and Fairy Song Yu came with great confidence, but now their expression are not quite right. It seems a problem occurred. Did they fail to take it down? That's impossible, right? The Gu immortals were confused. They were guessing randomly. The 10 great ancient sects were in cahoots. They were the overlords of Central Continent. Over these last years, there was unavoidably no lack of hidden competition among themselves. The contest of Hu immortal blessed land was at first an open competition, using disciples from each sect to decide the eventual owner. But the result was that Fang Yuan actually took advantage. Now, it was a hidden contest. They could not question Immortal Crane sect in public. That would break the unspoken rules. The Gu immortals did not know what happened to Hu immortal blessed land. They were hesitant to return. Fang Yuan closed the door, as He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan came to congratulate him with smiles on their faces. Fang Yuan, you have caused me to look at you in a different light. This time, the collaboration between you and Immortal Crane sect succeeded without any battle. It was truly a great victory. Fairy Li Shan was full of praise. This was the type of victory that Gu immortals loved the most. Without any battles, without any huge investments. But the rewards were simply incredible. Senior is not entirely correct. Fang Yuan laughed heartily. It is not me who is collaborating with Immortal Crane sect. It is us. After all, to refine the air sac Gu, we will need He Lu Lan's strength Chi Gu to muster the strength Chi. As for the profits of the guts Gu, your side will take 40%, my side will take 60%. Fairy Li Shan heard this, and the smile on her face intensified. As long as one was not a fool, they could see the prospects of the transaction of guts Gu. She understood clearly that Fang Yuan's action was to stabilize their alliance completely, to bind them to Dang Hun Mountain itself. In the future, when Hu immortal blessed land is attacked, they would need to come and defend it too. But with such great benefits, Fairy Li Shan could not help but be moved. He Lu Lan looked at Fang Yuan deeply. To think that you had this method, Fang Yuan, conceptualizing the air sac Gu. To refine the rank 3 air sac Gu, you need to use the rank 6 strength Chi Gu. This Gu is truly very special. A part of this was definitely due to Wisdom Gu's credit. After obtaining Wisdom Gu, Fang Yuan had been conceptualizing to see if there was a way to extract Guts Gu under the help of unlimited inspiration. The success this time was also because he had unexpectedly heard from Tai by Yun Shang that He Lu Lan had the strength Chi Immortal Gu. Only an immortal class strength could envelop the Guts Gu, allowing it to leave Dang Hun Mountain unscathed. Fang Yuan changed the topic. To produce Guts Gu, we will need huge amounts of souls. I will have to trouble the 2 of you. Northern Plains is a land of battles. Chaotic wars happen all the time, and beast groups and tribes relocate constantly. There are surely many souls that can be collected there. We will go and settle this now. Hei Lulan wanted to act immediately. After she ascended to an immortal, her need for resources had become much greater, especially in terms of immortal essence stones. She could not always rely on Fairy Lishan. Relying on others was not Hei Lulan's style. Fairy Lishan agreed. That's right. Danghun Mountain does not have any requirements for the type of soul. We can even buy them from Northern Plains Zombie Alliance. It will be more expensive than collecting the souls ourselves, but the price would be acceptable and we can save lots of trouble. Fang Yuan waved a hand. Please hold on for a moment. Don't be too anxious now. Now, come with me to suppress a Gu Immortal. This Gu Immortal is inside Hu Immortal Blessed Land right now. Oh, who? Tai Bai Yunshen questioned. There are other Gu Immortals hiding in the Blessed Land now? Is it an ambush by Immortal Crane sect, having ulterior motives? Hei Lulan and Fairy Lishan looked at each other with confused and shocked expressions.